July 2026 is a month of turning points. The choices you make now have the power to reshape the months and even years ahead. This month is asking you to stop repeating patterns that once made you feel safe, but now are keeping you small. This month, we have Mars forming a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, Mars forming a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, both Neptune and Saturn stationing retrograde in Aries, Venus in Virgo squaring Uranus in Gemini, a new moon in Cancer, the Sun entering Leo, Mercury stationing direct in Cancer, the lunar nodes shifting into the Aquarius Leo axis, and a powerful Aquarius full moon. In this video, I'm going to break down the biggest life areas that are evolving based on your rising sign, the emotional patterns, beliefs, and relationship dynamics this month's transits are asking you to release, and how to work with these energies so that you can move through July with greater clarity, confidence, and purpose. So grab your birth chart, find your rising sign, and let's dive in.
Aries rising. So, for the month of July, this is about you choosing the version of your life that feels emotionally safe, creatively alive, and aligned with the person you are becoming now. July is a month where your mind, identity, home life, friendships, creativity, and long term future all begin shifting at once. This is not a passive month for you. You may feel mentally restless, emotionally reflective, and increasingly aware that certain spaces, conversations, communities, or goals no longer match the person you're becoming. There's going to be a strong pull between your private life and your public expression this month. Part of you may want more peace, safety, and emotional grounding, and another part of you may feel ready to be seen, create more boldly, share your voice, and reconnect with joy in a real way. July is asking you to stop moving so quickly that you miss what your inner world is trying to tell you. Your ideas are changing, your confidence is changing, your relationship with visibility is changing, and your future vision is changing. This month is not just asking you to make decisions, it's asking you to become more emotionally honest about the kind of life that actually supports your growth. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will make a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, which is your third house. So, this transit is going to bring fast moving mental energy, sudden conversations, unexpected news, bold ideas, and major shifts in communication. So, you may feel more direct than usual. Your mind may move more quickly. You may suddenly want to speak up, make a decision, send the message, launch the idea, post the content, start the project, or finally say what has been sitting on your chest. For some Aries risings, this could bring unexpected changes involving siblings, neighbors, short distance travel, contracts, social media, writing, learning, or your daily schedule. The gift of this transit is breakthrough. The challenge is reactivity. Remember that not every thought needs to become an immediate action. Give yourself enough space to know the difference between a true intuitive hit and a nervous system impulse. Next, on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars in Gemini will form a trine to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius, which is going to be across your 3rd and 11th houses. This transit gives your voice power. So, a conversation, post, message, idea, or decision may carry more impact than you expect. So, you may realize that the way you speak, write, teach, or communicate is becoming deeply connected to your future. So, this can be powerful for content creation, networking, business ideas, audience growth, group work, or saying something that changes how people see you. This energy can also reveal which friendships, communities, or online spaces feel aligned with your mind now, and which ones feel mentally or emotionally draining. You are not meant to keep sharing your energy with people who only understand older versions of you. So, this transit is asking you to use your voice with intention. Next, on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries, which of course is your first house. So, Neptune retrograde in your first house is going to begin a deeper review of your identity, self trust, intuition, boundaries, and the version of yourself you have been becoming. You may feel more sensitive to your environment, more aware of your energy, and more reflective about who you are when you're not trying to prove anything. This transit may also blur certain parts of your self concept at first. So you may question what you want, how you are perceived, or whether the direction that you're moving in still feels aligned. But this is not confusion without purpose. Neptune retrograde in Aries helps dissolve identities that were built around survival, pressure, fantasy, or emotional avoidance. You are being asked to reconnect with the real you beneath the urgency. And we're going to have this retrograde energy from July 7th through December 12th, 2026. Next up, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your sixth and third houses. Now, this transit may disrupt your routines, schedule, communication, work rhythm, or nervous system. So you may suddenly feel irritated by obligations that interrupt your peace. So, a work situation, conversation, health habit, or daily responsibility may become more emotionally frustrating than usual. So, for some Aries risings, this could bring unexpected changes with coworkers, clients, appointments, technology, travel, or communication around work and responsibilities. Emotionally, this transit is asking you to notice where your daily life has become too mentally chaotic. So, if your routine does not support your nervous system, your body may start making that clear. So, this is a good time to simplify where you can and stop overloading your mind with too many moving parts. Next up, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, which is your fourth house. So, this new moon is going to bring a fresh emotional beginning around inner peace, your family, your home, emotional safety, and your private life. So, you may feel called to reset your living space, reconnect with family differently, set stronger emotional boundaries, move, redecorate, or create a home life that feels more supportive. But this new moon is also internal. So it's asking you to become honest about what actually makes you feel safe now, not what used to feel familiar, not what looks stable from the outside, and not what keeps everyone else comfortable. What genuinely supports your emotional well being. So, this new moon is going to be a powerful moment to stop building your life around pressure and start building it around peace. Next up on July 22nd, Leo season begins. And this is, of course, going to be in your fifth house. So, once the sun enters Leo, the energy starts to shift. So your fifth house becomes activated, which is going to bring more focus to creativity, romance, self expression, confidence, children, pleasure, passion projects, and of course, visibility. So after a more emotionally reflective Cancer season, Leo season reminds you that you are allowed to enjoy your life. You are allowed to create, you are allowed to be seen, and you are allowed to want attention for what you genuinely love doing. So, this is not about performing for approval. It's about reconnecting with the part of you that feels alive when you stop hiding your light. Next, on July 23rd at 16 degrees Cancer, Mercury moves direct in your fourth house. So, Mercury direct is going to help bring clarity once again around your living situation, your emotional conversations, anything around home, family, and private decisions that may have felt delayed or confusing during Mercury retrograde. So, if the past few weeks have brought misunderstandings, old memories, emotional sensitivity, or unresolved family patterns back to the surface, with Mercury moving direct, this is going to help begin understanding what the lesson was. So, you may be able to communicate your emotional needs more clearly. And you may also feel ready to make decisions around boundaries, moving, family, home, or how you want your private life to feel moving forward. This transit is going to remind you that emotional clarity often arrives after you stop rushing yourself to have all the answers. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries. So, Saturn retrograding in your first house is going to bring a more serious review of maturity, responsibility, discipline, self respect, your identity, and the way you are showing up in your own life. This may feel like a reality check around the person that you are now becoming. So you may begin asking yourself whether your choices, habits, boundaries, and priorities truly reflect the future you say that you want. So this transit may feel heavy at times, but it's not here to punish you. Saturn retrograde in your first house is helping you to become more grounded, self led, and emotionally responsible with your energy. You are learning that growth is not about movement. Sometimes growth is about self mastery. Also, on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes, north and south nodes, are entering Aquarius and Leo axis, which is going to be your 11th and 5th houses. So, of course, this is going to be a major karmic shift for you. The North Node entering Aquarius is going to activate your 11th house of community, friendships, networks, audience, collaborations, social impact, and long term future goals. The South Node entering Leo is activating your 5th house of self expression, visibility, creativity, and personal validation. Now, this cycle is asking you to balance personal expression with collective purpose. So, you're going to be learning how to share your gifts in a way that reaches the right people without becoming overly attached to applause, attention, romantic validation, or personal recognition. So, this is not about dimming your creativity. This is about letting your creativity serve a larger vision. Your joy matters, but it may now need to align with the future that you're building. Next, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have the Sun in Leo in a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo in your fifth house. So, this is one of the most beautiful and expansive moments of the month. Your confidence, magnetism, creativity, visibility, and desire for self expression are going to grow very powerfully under this influence. So, for some of you, this is going to bring creative opportunities, audience growth, exciting invitations, anything surrounding fertility, or a major confidence boost. So, this is a moment to take yourself seriously as a creator. And this is not because everything has to be perfect. This is about something inside of you is ready to be expressed more fully. And this transit is asking you to stop waiting for permission to enjoy your own life. Finally, also on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius in your 11th house. So, this full moon is going to bring clarity around your friendships, audiences, collaborations, and your long term dreams. So, something can absolutely kind of culminate socially or emotionally under this full moon. So, you may realize which people are truly aligned with your future and which connections feel more tied to an older version of your life. So, for some of you, this is going to bring a friendship turning point, a shift in a community that you're a part of, a project milestone, or a realization about where you want to belong moving forward. This Aquarius full moon is asking you to stop forcing yourself into spaces that do not support your evolution. Your future needs people who can meet the version of you that is emerging now. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy of July is first to protect your mental energy. Your mind may be moving quickly this month, but constant stimulation can become draining. So be sure to slow down before reacting, replying, posting, or deciding from emotional urgency. Next is to create emotional safety at home. This month, your private life needs attention. So make your space, boundaries, and emotional routines supportive enough to hold the version of you that is growing. Next is to let your voice evolve. You may be thinking, speaking, and expressing yourself differently now. So trust the shift instead of forcing yourself to communicate like your past self. Next is to stop chasing spaces you've outgrown. Friendships, communities, and audiences may shift this month. Let alignment matter more than familiarity. And finally, take your creativity seriously. Leo energy is opening a powerful creative chapter. So, happiness, self love, art, content, passion, and visibility are not distractions from your growth. They are part of it. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I trust my voice, honor my emotional needs, and allow my creativity, confidence, and future vision to expand in alignment with who I am becoming. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And of course, if this brought you clarity that you didn't have before, be sure to like this video, share it, hype it, and subscribe to stay connected to this kind of energy. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Taurus Rising. So, this month is about creating a life that feels emotionally safe to grow into instead of continuing to build one around old fears of instability, disappointment, or losing what you've worked so hard to create. July is asking you to reconsider what security actually means. As a Taurus rising, you've spent much of your life creating stability. So, whether that was through relationships, finances, routines, work, or simply becoming someone other people could depend on, you've learned that consistency creates safety. But this month is gently challenging that belief because there's a difference between creating stability and becoming trapped inside it. Some routines no longer support your growth. Some responsibilities have quietly become identities. Some versions of success no longer feel fulfilling because you've already outgrown the person who originally wanted them. This month is not trying to disrupt your life, but it is inviting you to stop confusing what's familiar with alignment. The future you're building requires enough security to support your growth, not enough security to prevent it. Starting out on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars forms a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini in your second house. So, this transit can absolutely bring exciting but unexpected developments around your finances, your business, your personal resources, or your relationship with self worth. So, an opportunity could appear suddenly, a source of income may change, or you may realize you've been undervaluing yourself for much longer than you realized. But this transit isn't only asking about how you earn money, it's asking what you've been allowing money to mean about you. For many Taurus risings, financial security has quietly become emotional security. When finances feel uncertain, self confidence often follows. This transit is helping to begin to separate those two experiences because your worth has never fluctuated with your bank account. The healthier your relationship becomes with your own value, the healthier your relationship becomes with abundance itself. Next up, on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So, this is going to be happening across your second and 10th houses. So, this is an incredibly empowering career transit. You are going to begin recognizing that the professional path you've been pursuing needs to reflect who you've become and not simply who you've always been. So, for some of you, you're going to receive leadership opportunities. You're going to launch a business. You're going to negotiate a higher compensation, or finally stop minimizing the value of what you bring to the table. Others of you are going to realize that you've been working incredibly hard toward goals that you no longer feel emotionally connected to. Success is going to become much more meaningful when it reflects your values instead of simply your capabilities. So, this transit is reminding you that building a beautiful life and building an impressive life aren't always the same thing. So, be sure to choose the one that lets you sleep peacefully at night. On July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries, which is in your 12th house. So, Neptune retrograding here is going to begin dissolving unconscious fears that have been quietly shaping your decisions for years. So, a lot of you are going to notice recurring dreams, emotional memories resurfacing, or moments where you suddenly understand why you've reacted to certain situations the way you have. This is about remembering not every fear belongs to your present. Some are echoes from chapters you've already survived. This transit is helping you to distinguish between genuine intuition and old survival instincts. Those are two very different voices. So, the more clearly you learn to recognize each one, the more confidently you'll move forward. Next up, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So, this is going to be across your fifth and second houses. This transit asks an important question. Have you been waiting until life feels completely secure before allowing yourself to enjoy it? Many Taurus risings postpone joy. They'll celebrate after the next milestone, rest after the next project, create after there's more time, or travel after more money. This transit interrupts that pattern. Joy isn't the reward for finally feeling safe. Joy is one of the ways your nervous system learns that safety already exists. You do not have to postpone living until every variable feels predictable. Life is happening now. Next up, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, and this is happening in your third house. So, this new moon is going to open a beautiful chapter around your voice, and not just simply communication, your relationship with your own perspective. Some Taurus risings are going to begin writing, teaching, podcasting, studying, speaking publicly, creating content, or finally expressing thoughts that you've kept private for years. Others of you are simply going to become more honest in everyday interactions. This is about understanding that your voice carries more power than you realize. And it's not because it has all the answers, but because it's carrying lived experience. And people don't connect with perfection, they connect with truth. So, this new moon is encouraging you to stop questioning whether your perspective matters and begin trusting that your lived experience has value simply because it's yours. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. So, this is going to be in your fourth house. So, Leo season actually shifts your attention toward the life you've built behind closed doors. So, the fourth house isn't simply about home, it's about the emotional environment you're creating every day. So, does your home restore you? Does your schedule leave room to breathe? Do your closest relationships feel emotionally safe? Does your life allow you to relax without feeling guilty. This Leo season is reminding you that external success feels hollow when your inner life feels neglected. So, the strongest foundation you'll ever build is one that allows you to exhale. Next up, on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer in your third house. So, Mercury moving direct is going to help conversations flow more naturally. So, decisions are going to become easier. Your plans are going to gain momentum again. And I think the greatest shift is going to be happening internally for you because you stop second guessing yourself as much. And this is about understanding that sometimes confidence isn't speaking louder, it's trusting your own thoughts without constantly asking whether everyone else agrees. And that kind of self trust is going to change every conversation that follows. On July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn will join Neptune retrograding in Aquarius, also in your 12th house. So, this Saturn retrograde is asking you to examine the emotional weight you've quietly normalized carrying. Because many Taurus risings have become incredibly skilled at appearing calm while privately carrying anxiety, responsibility, grief, or pressure that few people ever see, this transit is gently reminding you that strength isn't measured by how much you suppress. It's measured by how honestly you're willing to acknowledge what you're carrying before it begins carrying you. Saturn retrograding here is saying that your healing deserves the same commitment you've always given your responsibilities. And this Saturn retrograde cycle is going to be from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Also on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius Leo axis. So, of course, this is going to be across your fourth and 10th houses. So, this is a major karmic chapter that's going to begin around your legacy, your home, your purpose, and your emotional security. So, a lot of you are going to experience career changes during this cycle. But the deeper transformation is learning that success and peace don't have to compete with each other. So, for years, you may have believed you had to sacrifice one to achieve the other. But this cycle is asking you to build a life where your ambition supports your well being instead of replacing it. This cycle is here to tell you that the version of success you're moving toward isn't just impressive, it's sustainable. Finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius. So, this will be happening in your 10th house. Now, this full moon is going to shine a light on the life you've been working so hard to build. So, a career milestone, leadership opportunity, professional realization, or a moment of recognition may help you to see just how much you've grown. But this isn't simply a moment to celebrate achievement. This is a moment to ask whether the success you're creating actually feels like yours. So you may recognize places where you've been chasing external validation instead of internal fulfillment. Or you may realize that you've already accomplished goals that once felt impossible, yet you're still measuring yourself against a finish line that keeps moving. This full moon is inviting you to pause long enough to acknowledge your own growth. Not because you've reached the end, but more so because you're recognizing how far you've come creates the confidence to keep going. The life you're building deserves to be witnessed by the person who's worked hardest to create it. You. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to build security that allows growth. Stability should support your evolution, not limit it. Next is to trust your own voice. Your perspective carries value because it comes from lived experience. So tap into that. Next is to redefine success on your own terms. So this means create a life that feels meaningful, not simply impressive. Next is to let joy become part of your strategy. You don't have to postpone happiness until everything feels certain. Start celebrating now. And finally, honor your inner foundation. The stronger your relationship becomes with yourself, the more confidently you'll navigate every external change. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I trust my inherent worth, create stability that supports my growth, and build a life where success, peace, and authenticity can flourish together. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And help this video reach who it's supposed to. So be sure to give it a like, share this video, hype this video, and subscribe so the universe and the algorithm keep delivering. And if you know you have more inside of you but still struggle to consistently show up, my new The Visibility Reset helps you to get to the root of what's actually blocking you. Through audio guidance, visibility activations, and emotional healing exercises, this experience helps you to release the fear of being seen and reconnect with your voice, confidence, and expression. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Gemini rising. So, for the month of July, this for you is about giving yourself permission to become someone new without feeling obligated to explain, justify, or apologize for your evolution. So, July feels like a turning point. And this is not because everything is going to change overnight, but more so because you do. Now, this month is going to carry a very strong sense of personal momentum. So, your identity is evolving quickly, your confidence is growing, and you're beginning to recognize that the version of yourself you've been slowly stepping into is no longer just potential, it's becoming reality. At the same time, this growth may feel unfamiliar. So, some people may not understand the changes that you're making. Some opportunities are going to require you to leave behind old comfort zone. And some beliefs that you've carried about yourself are going to no longer fit the person you are becoming. So, this month is asking you to stop looking backward for confirmation that you're making the right decisions. Your future cannot be built by constantly seeking permission from your past. As your confidence grows, so will your responsibility to choose yourself. Not occasionally, consistently. Now, starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini. And of course, this is happening in your first house. So, this is one of the most electric personal transits of the month. So, you're going to suddenly feel restless, energized, courageous, impatient, or deeply motivated to change something about your life. So, for some of you, this is going to look like changing your appearance, starting a business, leaving a job, ending a relationship, launching a project, moving, or finally taking action on something that you've been putting off for months. You're going to find that you are no longer interested in living according to someone else's expectations. Now, the challenge with this transit is impulsivity. The opportunity is liberation. So, before making major decisions, ask yourself whether you're running toward your future or simply running away from your discomfort. Next up on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars in Gemini forms a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be across your first and ninth houses. So with this energy, your voice carries tremendous influence. So this transit is going to expand your confidence around teaching, speaking, content creation, education, travel, business, publishing, spirituality, or sharing your perspective with the world. So, for some Gemini risings, you're going to finally feel ready to stop hiding your knowledge. And others of you are going to realize that you've been called to lead conversations instead of simply participating in them. So, the way you think is changing, the way you speak is changing, and the way people experience your presence is changing. This transit is asking you to stop underestimating the impact your voice can have on other people's lives. Next up, on July 7th at 4 degrees in Aries, Neptune stations retrograde. And this is going to begin a review around your friendships, your goals, your audience, your community, any collaborations, and your long term vision. So, for some Gemini risings, you're going to begin questioning whether the people surrounding you genuinely support your growth or are they simply familiar. You may also notice shifts within online communities, social media, networking circles, or friendships that once felt aligned but now feel emotionally distant. So, this isn't about becoming isolated. This is about becoming more intentional. The people who belong in your future should inspire your expansion, not require you to shrink your authenticity. Next up on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your fourth and first houses. So this transit is going to create tension between your personal needs and outside expectations. So unexpected changes involving your home, family, living situations, or emotional responsibilities may temporarily disrupt your sense of stability. For some Gemini risings, this may bring family conversations, moving plans, home repairs, or realizing that your current environment no longer reflects the person you're becoming. Emotionally, you may notice yourself feeling more protective of your peace. And this is because you've spent enough time adapting to environments that required you to become someone else. And this transit is reminding you that your home should support your growth, not compete with it. Next up on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, which is going to be happening in your second house. So, this new moon is going to bring a powerful chapter around self worth, finances, abundance, and personal value. And this isn't only about making more money. This is about believing you are worthy of receiving more. So, for some Gemini risings, you may be negotiating a raise, you may be launching a business, increasing your prices, developing new income streams, or you may begin investing in yourself more intentionally. Others of you are going to experience something much deeper. You may finally stop measuring your worth by your productivity, achievements, or how useful you are to everyone else. This is about you remembering that your value exists before you prove it. And this new moon is asking you to start living like you believe that. Next up on July 22nd, Leo season begins as the sun enters Leo, and this is going to be in your third house. So, Leo season activates your voice. So, communication, teaching, writing, learning, marketing, content creation, speaking, networking, and sharing ideas are all going to become highlighted. So, if you've been waiting to launch something, have the conversation, post the video, start the podcast, write the book, or share your message, this energy supports stepping forward. So, people aren't simply paying attention to what you say, they're paying attention to how confidently you say it. And Leo season is going to remind you that your voice becomes more powerful when it comes from lived experience rather than perfection. Next up on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer, which is in your second house. So, Mercury moving direct is going to help clear any delays involving finances, contracts, income, pricing, budgeting, or important financial conversations. So, if you've been uncertain about your next financial move, greater clarity is going to arrive once Mercury is direct. This is also going to be an excellent time for recognizing where you've been undervaluing yourself. So, this is about remembering that sometimes the biggest financial breakthrough begins the moment you stop negotiating against your own self worth. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries, also in your 11th house along with Neptune. So, Saturn retrograde is asking you to review your future, not just your goals, your why. So, for some Gemini risings, you're going to begin questioning whether the dreams that you've been chasing still belong to you. Others of you are going to realize that you spent too much time building goals that earned approval instead of fulfillment. And your friendships may also become more selective under this transit. So you're learning that having fewer deeply aligned people often creates more peace than constantly trying to belong everywhere. So this Saturn retrograde is about understanding that quality is going to become more important than quantity. Also, starting on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius and Leo axis. So, this is going to be between your ninth and third houses. So, a major karmic cycle is going to begin around your voice, your beliefs, education, communication, teaching, travel, and purpose. So, the North Node entering Aquarius is inviting you to expand your perspective. This is about learning more, teaching what you've lived, and challenging beliefs that you've outgrown. Meanwhile, the South Node moving through Leo is asking you to release communication habits that center around needing validation, always being right, or staying within familiar ways of thinking. This is going to be a powerful cycle for becoming a teacher, not because you know everything, but because you're willing to keep growing. Next up, on July 29th at 6 degrees, the Sun in Leo forms a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo in your third house. So, this is one of the strongest communication transits of the year. So, your confidence, your creativity, visibility, networking, writing, speaking, teaching, and content creation all receive a tremendous boost under this energy. So, for some Gemini risings, this is going to bring viral content, new business opportunities, book writing, public speaking, important interviews, or exciting collaborations. This is about understanding that your words have the ability to open doors this year. So don't keep them trapped inside self doubt. Also, finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we will also have a full moon in Aquarius in your ninth house. So, this full moon is going to bring clarity around your future direction. So, you may finally start to make decisions that involve your education, your business, travel, publishing, spirituality, or your long term vision for your life. So, some of you are going to realize that you are ready to leave behind environments that have become too small for your growth. And others are going to simply recognize that you have become someone whose dreams have expanded beyond your old reality. So, this full moon is asking one simple question: does your life still match your vision? And if the answer is no, trust yourself enough to begin closing that gap. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy of July is first to trust the person you're becoming. You do not need your old life to validate your new direction. Next is to invest in your voice. Writing, teaching, speaking, learning, and sharing your perspective are going to become major catalysts for growth. So be sure you're tapped in. Next is to raise your standards around your self worth. Stop negotiating your value to make other people comfortable. Next is to choose communities that support your expansion. Understand that your future deserves relationships that celebrate your evolution. And finally, think bigger than you've allowed yourself to before. Your next chapter requires a wider perspective than your last one did. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I trust my voice, honor my worth, and confidently step into the life my growth has been preparing me to create. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if this helped you to understand yourself on a deeper level, be sure to like this video, pass it on to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're tired of feeling like there's something bigger inside of you that never fully comes out, my new The Visibility Reset was created for exactly that wound. It's part audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you move through the fear, self-doubt, avoidance, and emotional blocks that keep you hiding. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Cancer rising. So, for the month of July, this time period is about you recognizing that your greatest strength doesn't come from protecting yourself from change. It comes from trusting yourself enough to grow through it. Now, July feels deeply personal because after months of internal growth, emotional healing, and redefining who you are, this month begins asking what you're going to do with everything you've learned about yourself. So there's a strong shift happening between your inner world and your outer reality. You're closing one chapter of your identity while simultaneously beginning another. So some Cancer risings are going to feel more emotional than usual. Others are going to feel unusually confident. And many of you are going to feel both at the same time. This month isn't about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more honest about who you've always been beneath the expectations, fears, and responsibilities you've carried for so long. Financial themes are going to begin growing louder and not simply about earning more, but understanding what enough means to you. What kind of life are you actually trying to build? One that impresses people or one that genuinely deserves your peace? That question kind of quietly shapes much of July for you. Now, starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars forms a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, and this is happening in your 12th house. So, this is an incredibly active transit happening behind the scenes. So, although life may appear calm on the outside, internally, you may feel like everything is moving. So, old memories may surface, powerful dreams may become more frequent. Unexpected insights can arrive when you are alone, resting, driving, showering, or doing absolutely nothing. For some Cancer risings, this transit is going to expose unconscious patterns you've been carrying for years without realizing how much they've influenced your decisions. It can also reveal where burnout, suppressed anger, grief, or emotional exhaustion has quietly been building beneath the surface. So rather than seeing this as emotional chaos, see it as emotional clearing. And remember that you cannot heal what never has the opportunity to come into the light. Next up on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars and Gemini will form a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be happening across your 12th and 8th houses. So this transit supports profound psychological healing. So you may begin understanding yourself in ways that you never have before. So conversations with a coach, a trusted friend, or even your own journal can unlock realizations that permanently shift your perspective. For some Cancer risings, you're going to finally release guilt that you've been carrying. Others are going to recognize survival patterns that no longer need to define you. This is also a powerful transit for healing around intimacy, financial fears, trust, or emotional vulnerability. Sometimes the greatest transformation doesn't happen through external success. This transit is letting you know that it happens the moment that you stop fighting yourself internally. Next up on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries, And this transit is going to be happening from July 7th through December 12th, 2026. So, Neptune retrograde is going to begin reviewing your career, purpose, reputation, ambitions, and the life you've been working toward. So, you may begin asking yourself difficult but important questions, such as, am I building the life I truly want? Or the life I believed I was supposed to want? So, for some Cancer risings, you're going to feel temporary uncertainty around your career direction. Others are going to become more aware of how much that you have tied your identity to achievement. So, this transit isn't about taking your purpose away. It's helping you to remove expectations that never truly belong to you. And your path becomes clearer once you stop chasing someone else's definition of success. Next up, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your 3rd and 12th houses. So, unexpected conversations or surprising information may actually shift your perspective during this week. So, for some Cancer risings, something you hear may completely change the way you think about a relationship, family situation, work environment, or personal decision. Emotionally, this transit is highlighting the relationship between your thoughts and your peace. So, notice what happens when you constantly replay the same worries in your mind. This energy is about understanding that your nervous system deserves kinder conversations than fear often provides. So, this is going to be an opportunity for you to interrupt mental patterns that quietly drain your energy. Next up, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer. So, of course, since this is happening in your first house, this is your personal reset. So, this is going to be one of the most important new moons of your year. So, a new moon in your first house invites you to consciously choose the person you're becoming. So, some of you are going to change your appearance. Some of you are going to change careers, relationships, priorities, habits, or the way that you carry yourself. But underneath every external shift is an even deeper internal one. This new moon in Cancer is about you learning to stop introducing yourself through your past and understanding that you don't have to keep identifying with old versions of yourself simply because they are familiar. This new moon is asking you to imagine your life 1 year from now. Then begin making choices that person would make today. Next up, on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, and this is going to be in your 2nd house. So, Leo season is going to shift your attention even more toward your finances, self worth, stability, and building a life that reflects your value. So, money is going to become a strong focus, but also your relationship with receiving. So, you may notice yourself becoming less willing to accept situations where your time, gifts, or emotional labor aren't respected. So, this is going to be excellent energy for negotiating, increasing income, launching offers, growing a business, or simply recognizing your own value more clearly. The way you value yourself determines what you're willing to accept from the world. Next, on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer. So, Mercury moving direct is going to help clear any confusion around your identity, decisions, communication, and personal direction. So, if you spent the last few weeks second guessing yourself, you're going to suddenly feel more certain about what you want next. Some of you may notice people responding differently to you, and not because you've changed overnight, but more so because you've become clearer. And clarity naturally changes the energy you bring into every room. Next, on July 26th through December 10th, 2026, Saturn stations retrograde at 14 degrees Aries. So, this is happening in your 10th house, meaning that Saturn retrograde is asking you to slow down and evaluate the future you're building. Success without fulfillment will feel much less satisfying under this influence. So, some of you are going to realize that you've been climbing a ladder you no longer wish to be on. Others of you are going to recommit yourself to a dream that requires greater patience and discipline than expected. This transit is here to remind you that lasting success isn't measured by speed, it is measured by alignment. Next up, also on July 26th through March 26, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius and Leo axis. So, this is going to be happening across your 8th and 2nd houses. So, a significant karmic cycle is going to begin around money, self worth, intimacy, emotional security, trust, and receiving support. So, the North Node entering Aquarius is inviting you to heal your relationship with vulnerability, shared resources, emotional intimacy, and trusting others. Meanwhile, the South Node in Leo is asking you to release any beliefs that your value depends solely on what you own, earn, produce, or accomplish alone. So many Cancer risings have spent years trying to prove that you don't need anyone. So this cycle is gently asking whether that belief has protected you or isolated you. And it's also about recognizing that real strength isn't measured by how much you carry alone. Sometimes it's measured by your willingness to receive. Next up, on July 29th at 6 degrees, the Sun in Leo will form a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo in your 2nd house. So, again, this is going to be one of the most abundant financial transits of the year. So, opportunities involving income, business, promotions, investments, clients, or personal growth are going to begin expanding quickly. But this transit is equally about internal abundance. So you're going to finally begin believing that you are worthy of asking for more. So this is charging more, expecting more, receiving more. The life you are building begins with the value you assign to yourself. So don't underestimate how much that belief influences everything else. And finally, also on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius happening in your 8th house. So, this full moon is going to illuminate emotional intimacy, shared finances, trust, psychological healing, and the emotional weight you've been carrying. So, some Cancer risings are going to resolve financial matters. Others are going to have profound emotional breakthroughs around relationships, grief, forgiveness, or letting go. This full moon is asking you to release emotional burdens that were never meant to become permanent parts of your identity. And also understanding that not everything you've survived still needs to be carried. Some things are finally ready to be set down. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to allow yourself to become someone new. You don't need to keep introducing yourself through old versions of your identity. Next is to heal your relationship with receiving. Financial abundance often begins by believing you are worthy of accepting more. Next is to let your inner world guide your outer decisions. The answers you're looking for won't come through constant action. They're going to come through honest reflection. Next is to build success that feels meaningful, because achievement without alignment will feel empty. And finally, release what you've already outgrown. So whether it's fear, guilt, expectations, or emotional burdens, this month supports making room for the life you are actually ready to live. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I trust the person I am becoming, honor my worth without apology, and allow my life to expand in ways that support both my success and my peace. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if this helps you to understand yourself on a deeper level, be sure to like this video, pass it on to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you keep procrastinating every time it's time to fully put yourself out there, there's usually something deeper underneath it. My new The Visibility Reset is going to help you work through the emotional fear of being seen through powerful audio guidance, visibility activations, and healing exercises designed to help you finally step into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Leo rising. So, for the month of July, this is about you allowing yourself to become visible from a place of authenticity instead of performance, and recognizing that your greatest power comes from living in alignment with who you truly are, not who you've learned to be for everyone else. July feels like the quiet inhale before a powerful new beginning. At first, much of the month is unfolding behind the scenes in your 12th house. So you may feel more reflective than usual, revisiting old dreams, questioning your direction, or sensing that something within you is preparing to shift. There is a feeling that one chapter is ending, even if you can't quite see what the next one looks like yet. Then, as Leo season begins, everything changes. A new energy returns, your confidence grows, your desire to create, lead, and fully embody yourself becomes impossible to ignore. But this isn't the same version of confidence that you've known before. This month is teaching you that confidence isn't built by receiving attention. It's built by developing enough self-trust that attention no longer determines how you feel about yourself. July is asking you to stop performing your life and start living it, because there's a profound difference between being seen and being known. This month is inviting you toward the second one. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars forms a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini in your 11th house. So, this transit is going to bring sudden shifts within your friendships, professional network, audience, community, or long term vision for your future. So, a conversation, opportunity, collaboration, or unexpected introduction could redirect the course of where you're headed. More importantly, this transit is asking you to examine where you feel you truly belong. So you may recognize that you've been holding on to certain friendships or communities simply because they've been part of your story for a long time. But longevity isn't always alignment. The people who belong in your next chapter will not require you to minimize your growth to preserve their comfort. Sometimes growth isn't in finding new opportunities. Sometimes it's in finding the people who naturally expand what's possible inside of you. Next, on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. So, this is going to be across your 11th and 7th houses. So, relationships become even more powerful mirrors for you now. So, whether this is through a close friend, business collaborator, client, or romantic partner, someone may reflect back a truth you've been ready to see about yourself. This isn't simply about attracting better relationships. It's about recognizing that the relationships you create naturally evolve as your relationship with yourself evolves. So you may notice yourself becoming less interested in relationships built on obligation, rescuing, or proving your worth. Instead, you're craving relationships where honesty feels safer than perfection, where both people are free to grow, and where authenticity becomes the foundation rather than performance. So pay attention to the people who make you feel more like yourself after spending time with them. Those relationships are worth investing in. Next, on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries in your ninth house. So, Neptune retrograde is going to begin dissolving any beliefs that no longer fit the person you're becoming. So, this isn't necessarily about changing your opinions, it's about changing the lens through which you've understood your entire life. So, for some of you, you're going to begin questioning inherited beliefs about success, spirituality, relationships, religion, family expectations, or what you believe that your life was supposed to become. You may also discover that you've been chasing goals that belonged to an earlier version of yourself, or perhaps goals that were never yours to begin with. It's important to remember that growth often requires grieving old identities we once believed would define us forever. And this transit is inviting you to replace certainty with curiosity. Your worldview is expanding because your soul has outgrown smaller ways of seeing yourself. Next, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So, this is going to be happening across your second and 11th houses. This transit highlights the relationship between your value and the environments where you seek belonging. So, you may begin noticing where you've undercharged, overextended yourself, or compromised your standards because you wanted acceptance, approval, or a sense of community. Financial opportunities may also arrive unexpectedly, but underneath the external events lies a deeper lesson that you don't have to earn your place by constantly giving more than you receive. The communities, friendships, and collaborations meant for you will value what you naturally bring, not what you sacrifice to stay included. So, this is going to be a beautiful opportunity to let your self worth become the foundation of every future opportunity. Next up, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, and this is going to be happening in your 12th house. So, this new moon begins quietly. So, while everyone else may be rushing toward external goals, you are being invited inward. The next version of your life isn't born through constant action. It's born through reflection, healing, surrender, and making peace with the parts of yourself you've been carrying in silence. So, for some of you, you are going to feel called toward meditation, rest, journaling, spiritual practices, or simply creating more room to hear your own inner voice. This new moon is also going to mark the closing of a long emotional cycle. So, this is old fears, old grief, old identities, and old expectations. You don't need to force yourself to carry them into the next chapter simply because they've been with you for a long time. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is allow something to end with gratitude instead of guilt. Next up, on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. So, of course, this is happening in your first house and your season begins. But this year feels different. So, instead of asking, how can I shine brighter? Life is asking you, how can I become more authentic? So, the spotlight naturally finds people who are deeply connected to themselves. And this is not because they're trying to impress anyone. This is because authenticity has its own magnetic quality. So, this is going to be a beautiful time to reinvent yourself, update your image, launch new projects, prioritize your well being, or simply begin living with greater alignment between your inner world and your outer life. The more honest you become with yourself, the easier it becomes for the right people to recognize you. Next, on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer, which again is your 12th house. So, Mercury direct is going to bring clarity after weeks of emotional processing. So, insights that you've been waiting for are going to begin to arrive naturally. And you may finally understand why something had to end, why a delay protected you, why a relationship shifted, or why you've been feeling called toward a different direction. So, not every answer is going to arrive through logic. Some answers are going to arrive through stillness. So, trust what becomes clear once your mind stops trying to control the outcome. Next, on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries in your ninth house. So, Saturn retrograde is asking you to revisit the beliefs that quietly shape every decision you make. Are your choices rooted in fear or freedom? Do your goals genuinely belong to you? Have you inherited definitions of success that no longer fit the life you're trying to build? This transit isn't here to limit your future. Saturn retrograde is helping you to build one that's based on wisdom rather than expectations. So, some dreams are going to become stronger after you've questioned them, and others are going to reveal they were never truly yours. And this retrograde period is going to last from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Next, on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes are going to be entering the Aquarius Leo axis. And this is going to be across your seventh and first houses. So, a major karmic cycle is going to begin around your identity and relationships. Now, many interpretations stop at relationships, but this axis is asking something much deeper, that every close relationship becomes a mirror. And this is not to show you what is wrong with you. It's to reveal where you've been abandoning yourself in order to maintain connection. So, over the next 18 months, you're going to begin recognizing that healthy relationships aren't built on constant compromise or performing a version of yourself that's easier to love. They're going to be built on two whole people choosing honesty over approval. So, some relationships are going to deepen because both people are willing to grow. Others are going to naturally fall away because they are built around versions of you that no longer exist. The more deeply you honor your own voice, values, and needs, the more naturally you'll attract people who celebrate your authenticity instead of merely benefiting from your self sacrifice. Next up, on July 29th at 6 degrees, the Sun in Leo forms a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo in your first house. So, of course, this is going to be one of the most expansive personal transits that you'll experience this year. And you're going to feel more confident, more energized, more optimistic, more visible, and inspired than you have in quite some time. But the greatest gift isn't external recognition, it's internal permission. Permission to stop waiting until you're more qualified, more prepared, more perfect, or more certain. Life is going to expand the moment you begin trusting yourself enough to step forward before every fear disappears. This is your invitation to become fully available for your own life. And finally, also on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius happening in your seventh house. So, this full moon is going to shine a light on your relationship patterns and the ways you show up in connection with others. So, you may recognize where you've been seeking validation, over compromising, or losing yourself to maintain harmony. So, a friendship, business relationship, client dynamic, or partnership may reveal what needs to change. And this isn't simply about who stays or goes. It's about realizing that the quality of your relationships will always reflect the quality of the relationship you have with yourself. So, the more deeply you honor your own needs, voice, and boundaries, the more naturally you'll attract relationships rooted in mutual respect instead of self sacrifice. You're going to begin to recognize that healthy relationships are not built on people pleasing or emotional self abandonment. They're built on honesty, mutual respect, and allowing both people to evolve without asking either person to become smaller. So pay attention to the people who expand your perspective, respect your boundaries, and encourage your authenticity. Those are the relationships that belong in the next chapter of your life. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let your authenticity become your strategy. The more honestly you express who you are, the less energy you'll spend maintaining versions of yourself that no longer fit. Next is to audit your relationships with compassion. Notice which connections leave you feeling more grounded, more inspired, and more like yourself. Next is to make room for stillness. Some of the biggest breakthroughs this month are going to arrive through reflection rather than action. Next is to question inherited definitions of success. Build a future that reflects your values, not someone else's expectations. And finally, lead with self-respect. Every opportunity, relationship, and decision becomes healthier when it begins with honoring yourself first. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I honor my truth, trust my inner wisdom, and allow my authentic self to become the foundation for every relationship, opportunity, and chapter that follows. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if you're on this journey with me, be sure to like this video, send it to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so we stay tapped in together. And if you're tired of feeling like there's something bigger inside of you that never fully comes out, my new The Visibility Reset was created for exactly that wound. It's part audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you to move through the fear, self-doubt, avoidance, and emotional blocks that keep you hiding. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Virgo rising. So for the month of July, this is about you releasing the pressure to constantly prove your value and allowing your purpose to emerge from authenticity instead of perfection. July is asking you to redefine what success actually feels like. As a Virgo rising, you are often the one that others depend on. You notice what needs improving, you anticipate problems before they happen, and you naturally carry a deep sense of responsibility. Now, while those gifts have helped you accomplish a lot, they can also create a quiet belief that your worth is tied to how useful you are. This month is going to begin unraveling that belief. Your career, public life, friendships, inner healing, and relationship with service are all evolving simultaneously. The universe is asking you to stop measuring your life by how much you accomplish and start measuring it by how aligned you feel while accomplishing it. There's also a quieter invitation unfolding beneath the surface. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. Not every responsibility belongs to you. And not every version of success is meant to become your destination. July reminds you that purpose isn't found by doing more. It's revealed when you stop carrying what was never yours to begin with. Now, starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini in your 10th house. So, this transit can bring sudden changes around your career, leadership, reputation, business, or long-term direction. So, a promotion, new opportunity, unexpected decision, leadership role, or career pivot can appear quickly. And this is asking you to trust yourself before you feel completely prepared. For some of you, this is going to expose where you've outgrown work that no longer reflects your gifts. So the bigger question isn't simply, what do I want to do? It's, who am I becoming through the work I do every day? Because success that requires abandoning yourself eventually becomes another form of burnout. Next, on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. So this is going to be across your 10th and 6th houses. So this is incredibly empowering energy for transforming the way you work. And not just your career, your relationship with work itself. So you may begin to realize that you've spent years believing discipline meant exhaustion or that productivity required constant pressure. This transit is going to dismantle those beliefs. So some of you are going to start to create healthier systems, restructure your business, delegate responsibilities, improve your health, or completely rethink what a successful work life balance looks like. Your greatest strength this month isn't in how hard you're willing to work, it's how intentionally you're willing to work. Next, on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries, which is your 8th house. Neptune retrograde is inviting you into one of the deepest forms of healing. It's asking you to become aware of the emotional agreements you've unknowingly made with yourself. Agreements such as, I have to earn love. I can't let people see me struggle. If I lose control, everything falls apart. Those beliefs develop quietly through life experience until they begin shaping every relationship, financial decision, and emotional response. This transit is going to help dissolve those unconscious contracts. So, some of you are going to experience profound breakthroughs through spiritual work, intimate conversations, or simply allowing yourself to be supported without guilt. Now, healing isn't always about changing your circumstances. Sometimes it's about changing the story you've been living inside. And this retrograde cycle is going to be from July 7th through December 12th, 2026. Next up, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square with Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your 1st and 10th houses. This transit is asking you to examine the relationship between authenticity and achievement. So this could cause you to suddenly realize where you've been trying to maintain an image of who people expect you to be instead of fully expressing who you truly are. Career decisions, public visibility, or personal reinvention may feel uncomfortable during this time because growth rarely asks for permission before it arrives. So, some of you may feel pulled to update your appearance, shift your branding, change professional direction, or simply stop editing yourself to fit other people's expectations. This is about you understanding you don't have to remain recognizable to everyone in order to remain true to yourself. Next, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, which is your 11th house. So, this new moon is going to begin a beautiful new chapter around community, belonging, collaboration, and the future you are building. But this isn't simply about making new friends. This is about finding people who make your future feel larger than your past. So, some of you may join new communities, expand your audience, collaborate professionally, or reconnect with dreams that you quietly placed on hold. Others of you may simply recognize that you spent too much time trying to belong in spaces that require you to shrink. Belonging isn't about being accepted everywhere. It's about finding the places where your authenticity is welcomed instead of tolerated. Next, on July 22nd, the Sun enters Leo, which is your 12th house. So, Leo season brings a deeply reflective chapter for you. So, while much of the world is moving outward, your energy naturally turns inward. So, you may feel called to rest more, protect your peace, slow down, strengthen your spiritual practices, or spend more time listening to yourself than explaining yourself. This isn't withdrawal, it's preparation. Every significant new chapter requires a period of integration beforehand. So honor the quiet. Some of your greatest clarity arrives when external noise finally becomes quiet enough for your own inner voice to be heard. Next, on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer in your 11th house. So, Mercury direct is going to bring clarity around your friendships, your long term goals, networking, and your future plans. So, a delayed opportunity can now begin moving forward. An important conversation may finally happen. Or you may suddenly understand why certain friendships naturally drifted away. Not every ending is rejection. Sometimes it's simply redirection toward people who are better aligned with who you are. Next, on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries in your 8th house, right along with Neptune. Saturn retrograde is asking you to become more honest about what emotional weight you've normalized carrying. Some of you have become so accustomed to solving everyone else's problems that you've forgotten what it feels like to ask for support yourself. Others of you are going to realize that you've confused emotional control with emotional resilience. This Saturn retrograde period is teaching a different kind of strength: the strength to trust, the strength to receive, and the strength to acknowledge that healing isn't a project you complete alone. And this retrograde period is going to last from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Next, also on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius Leo axis. So this is going to be your 6th and 12th houses. So a profound karmic cycle is going to begin around your relationship with service, healing, rest, purpose, and your inner life. The North Node in Aquarius is asking you to develop healthier ways of working, serving, and caring for yourself without abandoning your own well-being. The South Node in Leo is going to begin releasing unconscious patterns of overfunctioning, perfectionism, or believing that your value depends on always being productive. This axis is asking one important question: who are you when you are not constantly fixing something? Because your identity was never meant to be built solely around being needed. Next, on July 29th at 6 degrees, the Sun in Leo will form a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo in your 12th house. So, this is going to be one of the most spiritually expansive transits of your year. With this energy, healing may happen quietly. Breakthroughs are going to arrive through your dreams, meditation, solitude, creative inspiration, or moments when life unexpectedly becomes still. Some of you are going to finally forgive yourself for things that you've carried for years. And others of you are going to reconnect with a deeper sense of faith in yourself and the path that you're walking. And finally, also on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius, which is your sixth house. So, this full moon is highlighting the relationship you've built with your daily life. And this is not simply your schedule or workload, but the emotional habits that quietly shape how you move through each day. So, you may recognize where you've been operating on autopilot, saying yes when your body needed rest, or believing that slowing down somehow means falling behind. So, a work situation, health matter, responsibility, or long standing routine may reach a point of completion, allowing you to ask a more meaningful question. Does the life I've built actually support the person I'm trying to become? This full moon is inviting you to create daily rhythms that nourish your nervous system instead of constantly demanding more from it. When your inner life feels supported, your outer life naturally becomes more sustainable. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let purpose replace perfection. Remember that you don't need flawless execution to create meaningful impact. Next is to choose communities that expand your future. Be sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who inspire your growth rather than reinforce old limitations. Next is to allow yourself to receive support and understand that you don't have to earn rest, healing, or care through exhaustion. Next is to honor the quieter seasons. Reflection is not a pause in your progress. It's where your deepest clarity is born. And finally, build a life your nervous system can thrive in. Success is going to become sustainable when your daily life supports both your ambitions and your well being. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I release the need to prove my worth through constant effort and allow my purpose, peace, and authentic gifts to guide the life I am creating. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if this brought you clarity you didn't have before, be sure to hit like, share this video, hype this video, and subscribe to stay connected to this kind of energy. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Libra rising. So, the month of July is about you choosing a future that reflects who you're becoming rather than staying loyal to the version of yourself that learned to survive by keeping everyone else comfortable. July expands your vision, not just for what's possible, but for what you're finally willing to believe is possible for you. As a Libra rising, you've spent much of your life learning how to navigate relationships, create harmony, and consider multiple perspectives before making decisions. Now, while those gifts allow you to build meaningful connections, they can also make it easy to lose sight of your own direction while trying to preserve balance for everyone around you. This month gently shifts the focus. Your career is evolving. Your beliefs are evolving. Your friendships are evolving. And more importantly, your definition of success is evolving. You're beginning to realize that the future you're meant to build may require disappointing people who only felt comfortable with the older version of you. Growth has a way of revealing which relationships celebrate your evolution and which ones quietly depend on your hesitation. July reminds you that your life isn't meant to become smaller so other people never have to adjust. It's meant to become more honest. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini in your ninth house. So, this transit is going to completely shift your perspective. An unexpected opportunity, conversation, course, trip, mentor, book, or experience may challenge assumptions you've carried for years. Some of you may suddenly feel called toward higher education, teaching, publishing, entrepreneurship, spirituality, traveling, or a completely different direction than the one that you've originally planned. But the biggest transformation isn't external, it's internal. You're beginning to outgrow beliefs that once helped you to feel safe, but now quietly keep you small. This transit reminds you that every meaningful life change begins with allowing yourself to think differently first. Next, on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. And this is across your ninth and fifth houses. So, this is a powerful creative expansion. And not simply creativity in an artistic sense, but creativity in how you approach your life. So you may feel inspired to build something that reflects your own voice instead of following formulas that once felt secure. This transit also is going to reconnect you with happiness, not just as an escape from responsibility, but an essential part of your purpose. Many Libra risings have spent years becoming exceptionally good at meeting expectations. This transit is asking something different. What would you create if no one else's approval determined whether it was worthwhile? Because your greatest contribution can emerge the moment you stop creating to be accepted and start creating to be authentic. Next up on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries in your seventh house. Neptune retrograding in Aries is going to begin dissolving illusions within your relationships. And this isn't about becoming suspicious of others, it's about becoming more honest with yourself. So you may begin recognizing places where you've idolized people, overlooked your own needs, ignored red flags, or believed that loving someone meant endlessly understanding them while asking very little in return. Relationships often reveal the conversations we're not yet having with ourselves. So, this transit is inviting you to notice where you've been negotiating your truth in exchange for harmony. The healthiest relationships don't require you to become less of yourself in order to preserve the connection. They create space for both people to become more of who they truly are. And this retrograde period is going to last from July 7th through December 12th, 2026. Next up, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square with Uranus in Gemini. And this is going to be across your 12th and ninth houses. So, this transit is going to bring unconscious beliefs to the surface. A fear, memory, dream, or realization may suddenly reveal why you've hesitated to pursue something your heart has quietly wanted for a long time. So, some of you are going to discover that the biggest obstacle hasn't been opportunity, it's been permission. Giving yourself permission to outgrow old identities, permission to disappoint expectations, and permission to choose a path that doesn't make sense to everyone else. The beliefs that quietly shape your life deserve the same attention as the goals you're trying to achieve, because your future expands when your inner world does. Next up on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, and this is going to be happening in your 10th house. So, this new moon is opening an entirely new chapter around purpose, visibility, leadership, and the legacy you're building. But this isn't simply about promotions or career milestones. It's about becoming the kind of person your future naturally grows around. So, for some Libra risings, you are going to be launching a business. You're going to step into leadership positions. You're going to change careers. You're going to receive recognition or begin pursuing work that feels more meaningful. Others of you are going to simply realize that you are no longer willing to build success at the expense of your peace. This new moon is asking you to define success on your own terms, because fulfillment rarely comes from reaching someone else's destination. Next up on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, and this is, of course, your 11th house. So, Leo season is going to shift your focus toward your future. Communities, audiences, friendships, collaborations, and long term dreams are going to become extremely important. But this transit is asking you to think beyond simple networking. Who helps you become more yourself? Who inspires your courage? Who celebrates your growth without needing to compete with it? The people surrounding you shape the size of your future more than you realize. So choose environments where expansion feels natural instead of something you constantly have to justify. Next up on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer, also in your 10th house. So, Mercury direct is going to bring clarity around any career decisions, leadership opportunities, public visibility, and your next professional chapter. So, conversations that felt delayed are going to finally start to move forward. Plans are going to begin making more sense. And you may also recognize that uncertainty wasn't a sign you were on the wrong path. It was giving you time to become the person capable of carrying the opportunities that are now beginning to arrive. Sometimes clarity doesn't come because circumstances changed. It comes because you did. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries in your 7th house, right along with Neptune. So, Saturn retrograde is asking you to examine the standards that you created within your closest relationships. Not the standards you've asked of others, the standards you've accepted for yourself. So you may begin recognizing where you've consistently overextended, overexplained, overcompromised, or taken responsibility for emotional dynamics that were never yours to carry. Healthy relationships aren't measured by how much you're willing to sacrifice. They are measured by whether both people feel safe enough to tell the truth. Saturn retrograde is inviting you to build relationships where honesty feels more valuable than harmony. Saturn retrograde is going to be from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Also on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, The lunar nodes are entering Aquarius and Leo axis. So, this is your 5th and 11th houses. So, a beautiful karmic chapter is going to begin around your purpose, community, creativity, and the impact you're here to make. So, many people interpret this axis as creativity versus friendships, but the invitation is much deeper than that. You are learning to stop creating your life around external validation and start creating from genuine self expression. At the same time, you're being guided toward communities that recognize your gifts without requiring you to perform for belonging. The future you're building isn't asking you to become more impressive, it's asking you to become more authentic. Your joy is not separate from your purpose, it's actually the doorway into it. And finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius, your 5th house. So, this full moon is going to highlight your relationship with self expression and the parts of yourself that you've learned to keep hidden in order to feel accepted. So, you may recognize where you've been editing your creativity, minimizing your opinions, or waiting until your work felt perfect before allowing anyone else to see it. So, this isn't simply about becoming more creative, it's about becoming more visible as your authentic self. Joy isn't something that happens after you've earned enough success. It's something that reminds you why the journey matters in the first place. The people who are meant to connect with your work aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for something real. This full moon is inviting you to stop asking whether your light is too much for others and begin asking whether you've been giving yourself permission to fully shine. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let your vision become bigger than your fear. Your future expands the moment you stop limiting it to what feels familiar. Next is to build relationships rooted in honesty. Mutual respect creates stronger foundations than constant accommodation ever will. Next is to choose communities that nourish your growth. Remember, you don't have to earn belonging by becoming less of yourself. Next is to share your gifts before they feel perfect. Authenticity creates connection far more powerfully than perfection. And finally, define success in a way that includes your happiness. Achievement becomes meaningful when it reflects the life you actually want to live. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I trust my own vision, express my authentic gifts with confidence, and allow my future to be shaped by truth, purpose, and relationships that honor who I am becoming. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if you're on this journey with me, be sure to like this video, send it to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so you never miss what's next. And if you're tired of feeling like there's something bigger inside of you that never fully comes out, my new The Visibility Reset was created for exactly that wound. It's part audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you move through the fear, self doubt, avoidance, and emotional blocks that keep you hiding. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Scorpio rising. So, for the month of July, this is about you stepping into a future that asks you to lead from authenticity rather than control. and discovering that your greatest transformation comes when your public life finally reflects your private truth. July marks a powerful turning point in the way that you define success. As a Scorpio rising, you've likely spent much of your life learning to read beneath the surface. You notice unspoken dynamics, hidden motivations, and emotional undercurrents that other people usually overlook. That awareness has helped protect you, but it has also taught you to keep parts of yourself hidden until you feel completely safe. This month gently challenges that instinct. Your career is going to begin expanding. Your purpose is going to start becoming clearer, and your voice is going to start to grow stronger. But none of those things can fully evolve if you're still trying to protect an older version of yourself from being seen. Now, July isn't asking you to become someone else, but it is asking you to stop hiding the person you've already become. The opportunities arriving now aren't looking for a perfected version of you. They are looking for the real you. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, and this is happening in your 8th house. This transit can bring profound emotional breakthroughs around vulnerability, power, trust, and the ways you've learned to protect yourself. So, an unexpected conversation, financial situation, emotional realization, or intimate experience may reveal where you've been carrying invisible emotional armor. Some of you are going to recognize that you've become so accustomed to anticipating disappointment that receiving support now feels familiar. Others of you are going to discover that control has quietly become a substitute for safety. Now, this transit isn't trying to take your strength away. This transit is asking whether the strategies that once protected you are now preventing the deeper connection, freedom, or peace you've been searching for. Real transformation begins the moment protection is no longer your primary identity. Next up on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be across your 8th and 4th houses. This is deeply restorative energy. So you may begin healing emotional patterns that have existed within your own family, your inner world, or your relationship with safety longer than you've realized. Some of you may have meaningful conversations with family members, and others may begin to release inherited beliefs about survival, success, emotional expression, or what it means to be strong. This transit is reminding you that healing doesn't erase your past. It changes the role your past continues to play in your future. So you're no longer carrying history simply because it belongs to your family. You have the opportunity to decide what moves forward with you. Next up on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries, and this is in your 6th house. So Neptune retrograding here is going to begin dissolving routines, habits, and responsibilities that no longer support your well being. So, this isn't simply about becoming more productive, it's about becoming more intentional with your energy. So, you may notice where you've normalized stress, overcommitted yourself, or confused constant responsibility with purpose. For some of you, this may also reveal the emotional patterns hiding inside your daily habits. So, the way you begin your mornings, the way you speak to yourself, the way you care for your body, the way you recover from disappointment. These seemingly ordinary moments quietly shape the life you're creating. And this transit is asking you to build daily rhythms that nourish the person you're becoming instead of constantly demanding more from them. Next up on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your 11th and 8th houses. This transit is highlighting the relationship between belonging and authenticity. So, a friendship, community, collaboration, or long term vision may shift unexpectedly, revealing where you've been trying to fit into spaces that no longer reflect your values. You may also notice changes around trust within your friendships or professional network. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people are here to support one chapter of your growth. Others are here to walk beside you into the next one. Allow relationships to evolve naturally instead of holding on to them simply because they've always been there. Next up on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, which is your ninth house. So, this new moon is opening an entirely new chapter around your worldview. So, you may feel called to study something new, travel, teach, write, mentor, begin a spiritual practice, or simply start living according to the beliefs that feel more authentic than the ones you've inherited. But this transit isn't asking you to gather more information. It's asking you to become someone whose life reflects what they already know to be true. Wisdom isn't measured by how much you've learned. It's measured by how deeply you're willing to live what you've learned. So, this new moon is inviting you to trust your own philosophy instead of waiting for external validation that you're on the right path. Next up on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, and this is your 10th house. So, as Leo season begins, your visibility naturally increases. Career, purpose, leadership, business, recognition, and your public presence all are going to receive a powerful boost. Now, this isn't about chasing attention. This is about allowing your work to reflect your authentic voice instead of constantly trying to meet expectations. So, for some of you, you're going to receive a promotion. You're going to launch a business. You're going to step into leadership roles. Or you may just feel increasingly called to share your expertise more publicly. So remember this: people don't connect with perfection, they connect with conviction. So the more fully you believe in your own message, the more naturally other people will believe in it too. Next up on July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer, also in your ninth house. So, Mercury direct is going to bring clarity around education, your spiritual direction, teaching, travel, anything dealing with legal matters, publishing, or long term decisions. So, ideas that might have felt uncertain may now begin to start making sense. Any plans that felt delayed are going to now start to move forward. You may also notice that your confidence has less to do with having all the answers and more to do with trusting yourself enough to keep moving while you're still discovering them. Remember that clarity often follows movement, not the other way around. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries in your sixth house along with Neptune. So, Saturn retrograding here is asking you to examine the relationship you've built with responsibility. Have you created a life that supports your well being or a life that constantly depends on your exhaustion? So, many Scorpio risings are exceptionally resilient. But resilience is not meant to become an excuse for chronic self neglect. So, this transit is encouraging you to establish routines, boundaries, and expectations that honor your energy instead of continuously consuming it. Long term success isn't sustained by willpower alone. It's sustained by a life that allows you to remain healthy enough to enjoy what you're building. Also on July 26th through March 26, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius Leo axis, which is going to be your fourth and 10th houses. So, a major karmic chapter is going to begin around home and purpose. The deeper invitation with this transit is you're being asked to create a public life that no longer requires you to abandon your private self. Many Scorpio risings have learned to compartmentalize, to present strength while carrying immense emotional weight behind the scenes, to appear capable while quietly navigating responsibilities no one else sees. This axis is going to begin dissolving that separation. The stronger your inner foundation becomes, the more naturally your outer success can grow. Your future isn't asking you to choose between fulfillment and achievement. It's asking you to build success from a foundation that genuinely supports your life. Finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius, and this is happening in your fourth house. So, this full moon is going to be highlighting the emotional foundation beneath everything you've been building. So, you may recognize where you've been seeking success as a way to compensate for feeling emotionally unsafe, unseen, or unsupported. So, a family dynamic, living situation, or deeply personal realization may help you to understand why certain achievements have never felt as fulfilling as you expected. Now, this isn't about choosing home over career. This is about recognizing that no amount of external success can replace inner stability. The safest place you'll ever build is the relationship you create with yourself. As you begin trusting your own voice, honoring your emotional needs, and creating a life that reflects your authentic values, your outer achievements are going to begin feeling much more meaningful. Success feels different when you no longer need it to prove your worth. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let your inner life support your outer success. The stronger your emotional foundation becomes, the more sustainable your growth will feel. Next is to release outdated survival strategies. What once protected you may now be limiting your ability to receive connection, support, and opportunity. So be on the lookout for that. Next is to build daily habits that honor your energy. Your purpose deserves a version of you that isn't constantly running on empty. Next up is to trust your own wisdom. Your experiences have prepared you to lead in ways that you may not fully recognize yet. And finally, allow yourself to be seen. The opportunities meant for you require authenticity, not perfection. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is I build my future upon self trust, emotional integrity, and the courage to lead as my authentic self, allowing my inner truth to shape the life I am creating. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if this is your kind of space, be sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so we stay locked in. And if you know you have more inside of you, but still struggle to consistently show up, my new The Visibility Reset helps you to get to the root of what's actually blocking you. Through audio guidance, visibility activations, and emotional healing exercises, this experience helps you to release the fear of being seen and reconnect with your voice, confidence, and expression. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Sagittarius Rising. So, this month is about allowing your life to become a reflection of your evolving truth instead of remaining loyal to beliefs, identities, or expectations you've already outgrown. July feels like an invitation to expand, but not in the way you might expect. As a Sagittarius rising, you are naturally drawn toward growth, possibility, and discovering what lies beyond the horizon. You thrive when you are learning, exploring, and allowing life to continually reshape your perspective. But this month reminds you that the greatest expansion isn't geographical, it's psychological. The person you were a year ago cannot build the life you're now capable of creating. Your relationships, your beliefs, and your emotional landscape is changing. And most importantly, your definition of freedom is changing. You're beginning to understand that freedom isn't simply the absence of limitations, it's the presence of alignment. It's waking up and realizing your decisions reflect who you are now, not who you had to become to survive yesterday. This month is asking you to trust the unfamiliar version of yourself that's beginning to emerge. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, and this is happening in your seventh house. So, this transit is going to bring movement, honesty, and unexpected developments in your closest relationships. A conversation, partnership, business collaboration, client relationship, or personal connection may shift very quickly, revealing dynamics that have quietly existed beneath the surface. And this isn't simply about whether someone enters or exits your life. It's about recognizing the version of yourself that you've been bringing into your relationships. So you may begin noticing where you compromised your truth to maintain connection, over explained yourself to avoid conflict, or unconsciously shaped yourself around what made other people comfortable. The healthiest relationships don't ask you to become someone else. They create enough safety for you to become more fully yourself. Next up on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be across your seventh and third houses. This means that your conversations are going to become transformational. Words that are exchanged this month can permanently shift the direction of a relationship, a business opportunity, or the way you understand yourself. So, some of you are going to finally have the conversation that you've been avoiding. Others of you are going to discover that one honest discussion creates more intimacy than months of trying to keep the peace. Communication is becoming one of your greatest catalysts for growth. And this is not because you're learning how to speak more. This is because you're learning how to speak more truthfully. Your voice becomes most powerful when it no longer exists to manage other people's reactions. Next, on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries in your fifth house. So, Neptune retrograding here is going to begin dissolving old ideas about creativity, self expression, and happiness. This transit is asking whether you've been expressing your authentic self or performing the version of yourself you believed would be most loved. Some of you are going to realize that you've been editing your creativity before anyone else ever has the chance to experience it. Others of you are going to notice that you've attached too much of your identity to being inspiring, optimistic, or constantly positive. This transit invites you to reconnect with the parts of yourself that create simply because they feel alive, not because they expect applause. This Neptune retrograde cycle is going to be from July 7th through December 12th, 2026. Next up on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square with Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be across your 10th and 7th houses. This transit highlights the relationship between your ambitions and your relationships. Career developments may temporarily challenge your work-life balance. Professional opportunities may require new boundaries. And you may also recognize where you've made yourself smaller professionally in order to avoid making others uncomfortable. Success doesn't have to cost your relationships, but healthy relationships should never require you to abandon your potential either. The people who truly belong in your life won't fear your expansion. They'll help you grow into it. Next up on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer happening in your 8th house. So, this new moon is going to begin a profound chapter of emotional transformation. This is because life is asking you to become someone more honest. The 8th house isn't simply about intimacy or shared resources. It's about the stories you've carried that quietly determine how deeply you're willing to trust life, yourself, and other people. So, some of you are going to begin healing old disappointments that taught you that vulnerability wasn't safe. Others of you are going to finally release emotional burdens that you've carried in silence for years. This new moon is asking a powerful question. What would become possible if you stopped expecting every new experience to end like an old wound? Your future deserves a chance to be different from your past. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, which is your 9th house. So, Leo season feels like coming home to yourself. Your curiosity returns, your optimism grows, and your vision expands. So you may feel inspired to study, write, teach, travel, publish, launch something meaningful, or simply begin living with greater conviction. But this isn't about collecting more information. This is about embodying the wisdom you've already earned. Knowledge changes very little until it becomes lived experience. This transit reminds you that your life itself is becoming your greatest teaching. On July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer, also in your 8th house. So, Mercury direct always brings emotional clarity. A conversation, financial matter, or inner breakthrough can finally help you to understand something that has felt emotionally complicated over the past several weeks. Some of you are going to discover that closure doesn't always come from another person. Sometimes it arrives the moment you stop waiting for someone else to validate your experience. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries, also in your fifth house with Neptune retrograding. So, Saturn retrograding here is asking you to examine your relationship with fun, not whether you deserve it, whether you've made room for it. Many of you have become so focused on growth, goals, responsibility, or becoming your highest self that you've unintentionally postponed happiness until some future version of success arrives. This retrograde cycle is reminding you that joy isn't the reward waiting at the finish line. It's part of the path itself. When you consistently deny yourself aliveness, your creativity begins losing its voice. So honor what brings you back to yourself. Also on July 26th through March 26, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius Leo axis. So this is going to be your third and ninth houses. So a profound karmic cycle is going to begin around your voice, beliefs, perspective, and the stories you tell yourself about your life. This cycle is about you learning to release inherited beliefs that no longer reflect who you are while developing a philosophy rooted in your own lived experience. Your voice is becoming more authentic because your life is becoming more authentic. The wisdom that you're here to share won't come from repeating what you've learned. It will come from speaking what you've lived. Finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius, and this is happening in your third house. So, this full moon is going to illuminate the stories that quietly shape your everyday life, such as the way you speak to yourself, the assumptions you make, the conversations you avoid, the beliefs you repeat so often that they've started feeling like facts. So, you may recognize that some of the limitations you've been trying to overcome no longer exist outside of you. They exist inside the narrative you've continued telling yourself. This full moon is inviting you to become more intentional with your words because language creates reality long before circumstances do. When you begin speaking from possibility instead of fear, your decisions naturally begin following the same direction. Your future doesn't begin with a destination. It begins with the conversations you choose to believe. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is to first let your beliefs evolve. You are not meant to stay loyal to perspectives you've already outgrown. Next is to practice radical honesty in your relationships. And remember that authentic connection begins where performance ends. Next is to protect your joy. Your creativity and sense of wonder deserve as much attention as your responsibilities. Next up is to rewrite the stories guiding your decisions. Notice the beliefs shaping your choices before assuming they are true. And finally, live what you've learned. Your greatest wisdom comes from embodiment, not accumulation. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is I trust my evolving truth, honor my authentic voice, and allow my beliefs, relationships, and vision for the future to expand in alignment with who I am becoming. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And be sure to tap like if you felt called out in a good way. Pass this on to your friends, hype this video, and subscribe to keep growing with me. And if you've been hiding behind perfectionism, overthinking, staying prepared, or waiting until you feel more confident first, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you finally feel safe enough to be fully seen. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Capricorn Rising. So, the month of July is about you creating relationships that honor who you are becoming instead of asking you to remain who you used to be, while recognizing that true intimacy begins with emotional honesty, not emotional self protection. July changes the way you relate, not simply to other people, to yourself. As a Capricorn rising, you've likely spent much of your life believing that strength meant staying composed, being dependable, and carrying whatever life placed on your shoulders without asking for much in return. That resilience has brought you far, but it has also taught you that vulnerability often feels less familiar than responsibility. This month is going to begin challenging that pattern. Your relationships and your emotional world are evolving. Your understanding of trust, support, and reciprocity is evolving. The life you're building no longer is asking you to carry everything alone. In fact, the more you continue operating from survival rather than connection, the more exhausting your success may begin to feel. July is reminding you that emotional maturity isn't measured by how much you can carry without breaking. It's measured by your willingness to let yourself be fully known without believing it makes you less capable. Starting on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars forms a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini in your sixth house. This transit can bring sudden changes to your work, schedule, health, routines, responsibilities, or your daily life. An unexpected opportunity, new project, career adjustment, or shifts in priority may require you to become more flexible than usual. But underneath the external changes is a deeper realization. Many of you have built routines around efficiency rather than well being. You know how to get things done. The question is whether the way you're getting them done is sustainable. This transit is asking you to build a life that supports your energy instead of constantly demanding more from it. Productivity should improve your life, not quietly consume it. Next up on July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. This is happening across your sixth and second houses. So, this transit highlights the relationship between your daily habits and your sense of self worth. So, you may begin recognizing how often you've attached your value to productivity, achievement, or being the reliable one. For some of you, this is going to become a powerful opportunity to restructure both your work and your inner dialogue. Imagine speaking to yourself with the same patience and respect that you offer everyone else. How differently would you approach your goals? This transit is reminding you that self worth isn't something you earn through constant effort. It's the foundation from which meaningful effort naturally grows. On July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries happening in your fourth house. Neptune retrograding here is going to begin dissolving emotional stories connected to belonging, home, family, and the place you return to within yourself. For some of you, you're going to begin seeing family dynamics through a different lens. Others are going to recognize that you've spent years trying to create externally what you never felt internally. So, this could be safety, stability, acceptance, or peace. This transit is reminding you that healing isn't about creating a perfect home. It's about creating an inner environment where you no longer feel like you have to earn your right to exist peacefully. Your relationship with yourself becomes your first home. Everything else grows from there. On July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this will be across your ninth and sixth houses. This energy can bring a surprising realization that can completely reshape how you approach your future. So, an opportunity, a conversation, a class, a mentor, or experience could challenge long held assumptions about success, purpose, or what your life is capable of becoming. You may also recognize where your daily routines no longer support your bigger vision. Dreams don't become reality through inspiration alone. They require systems that actually make room for them. This transit is encouraging you to align your everyday choices with the future you're trying to create instead of the life you're trying to leave behind. Next, on July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, which is going to be happening in your seventh house. So, this new moon is going to open an entirely new chapter in the way you experience connection. This new moon asks whether your closest relationships allow you to remain fully yourself. So, some of you are going to begin new relationships, deepen existing ones, welcome meaningful clients or business partnerships, or finally experience a healthier form of reciprocity than you've ever known before. Others of you are going to simply recognize that you've confused loyalty with self sacrifice. Real connection doesn't require abandoning your own needs to maintain someone else's comfort. Healthy relationships don't ask you to become less honest. They create enough emotional safety for honesty to become the relationship itself. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, which is your eighth house. So, Leo season is going to invite you beneath the surface. This is a month of emotional depth, psychological healing, and profound personal transformation. This is about the identities that you've built to avoid vulnerability. So you may begin noticing where you've protected yourself so effectively that you've also unintentionally protected yourself from support, intimacy, and deeper connection. Transformation begins when you stop asking, "How do I stay in control?" and begin asking, "What would happen if I finally trusted myself enough to let go?" On July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer in your seventh house. So, Mercury direct is going to bring clarity to any important relationships and conversations. So, any misunderstandings may begin to start resolving themselves. Delayed decisions can start to move forward. You may finally say what you've been trying to find the words for over the past couple of weeks. Or perhaps someone else finally speaks with the honesty you've been waiting to hear. Either way, communication becomes much more productive because you're no longer trying to protect the truth. You are allowing it to exist. Next up on July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries along with Neptune retrograding in your fourth house. Saturn retrograding here is asking you to revisit the emotional foundation that you've built your life upon. So many of you have learned early that being dependable was safer than being vulnerable, that being responsible earned approval, that pushing through was more acceptable than slowing down. This transit is gently asking whether those beliefs are still serving the person you've become. Your inner world deserves the same care you've spent years offering your responsibilities. Emotional security isn't something you'll find once life finally calms down. It's something you consciously create within yourself. Also on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes enter the Aquarius Leo axis, which is going to be your second and eighth houses. So, a profound karmic chapter is going to begin around value, emotional security, trust, and the balance between independence and receiving support. The deeper invitation of this transit is, who are you when your worth is no longer measured by how much you produce, provide, achieve, or carry? So, over the next 18 months, you'll begin releasing the belief that security only comes from complete self reliance. At the same time, you'll be learning that receiving support doesn't diminish your strength, it expands it. Because true abundance isn't built solely through independence, it's built through healthy interdependence. Finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius in your second house. So, this full moon is going to shine a light on your relationship with value, not simply what you own, but the way you define your own worth. So, you may recognize where you've been measuring yourself by accomplishments, income, productivity, or how much you're able to carry without asking for help. That version of self worth is becoming too small for the life you're stepping into. Your value has never been determined by how useful you are. It is reflected in the way you honor your own needs, boundaries, gifts, and humanity, even when no one else is watching. So, as your relationship with yourself becomes more compassionate and grounded, your external life is going to naturally begin reflecting that shift. Abundance often begins the moment you stop believing you have to prove you're worthy of receiving it. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let your relationships become places of honesty. You don't have to perform strength in order to deserve connection. Next is to build routines that support your future. Your daily life should reflect the life you're trying to create, not the one you're trying to escape. Next is to redefine what makes you valuable. Your worth isn't earned through exhaustion or constant achievement. Next is to create emotional safety within yourself. The strongest foundation you'll ever build is the one you cultivate internally. And finally, practice receiving. Support, love, opportunities, and abundance become easier to accept when you stop believing you have to deserve them first. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is, I trust my inherent worth. welcome authentic connection, and create a life where success, vulnerability, and inner peace can exist together. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And of course, your 3-second ritual: like this video, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe to keep this energy coming your way. And if you know you have more inside of you, but still struggle to consistently show up, my new The Visibility Reset helps you to get to the root of what's actually blocking you. Through audio guidance, visibility activations, and emotional healing exercises, this experience helps you to release the fear of being seen and reconnect with your voice, confidence, and expression. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Aquarius rising. So, this month is about learning that the most fulfilling relationships begin with the relationship you create with yourself, and recognizing that authentic connection can only exist where authenticity already lives within you. July becomes a month of reflection through relationship, because the people closest to you are going to begin reflecting the parts of yourself that are ready to evolve. As an Aquarius rising, you've always valued independence. You think differently, move differently, and often see possibilities long before everyone else catches up. That individuality is one of your greatest strengths. But sometimes independence quietly becomes emotional distance. And this is because somewhere along the way, relying on yourself felt safer than relying on anyone else. This month gently asks you to reconsider that belief, not by giving your power away, but by recognizing that healthy relationships don't take your freedom. They create enough safety that you no longer feel the need to protect it at all cost. Before this month asks you to deepen your relationships with others, it's first asking you to deepen your relationship with yourself. Because the way you love yourself quietly becomes the standard for every connection you allow into your life. Starting on July 4th, at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, and this is happening in your 5th house. This transit reignites your creative spirit. Unexpected inspiration, creative opportunities, or moments of childlike joy can arrive when you least expect them. This energy is about reclaiming the parts of yourself that became quieter while you focused on responsibility, healing, or survival. Some of you are going to suddenly remember passions that you might have abandoned years ago. Others of you may finally give yourself permission to create without worrying whether your work will be accepted or understood. Your creativity isn't asking to be perfected. It's asking to be expressed. So the more honestly you allow yourself to create, the more honestly you begin living. On July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be across your 5th and 1st houses. This is an incredibly empowering transit for personal transformation. The relationship between your identity and your self expression are going to begin changing in beautiful ways. So you may realize that you spent years editing parts of yourself to make other people more comfortable. So your opinions, your personality, your humor, your gifts, your dreams. So this transit is inviting you to stop asking, Will people accept this version of me? And begin asking, do I fully accept this version of myself? The answer to that question changes every relationship that follows. Next, on July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries in your third house. Neptune retrograding here is asking you to become more aware of the conversations constantly happening inside your own mind. Your inner dialogue shapes so much more of your life than you may realize. Notice the stories that you repeat about yourself, the assumptions you make, the fears you immediately believe, the dreams you dismiss before giving them room to breathe. This transit is helping you dissolve mental narratives that no longer reflect who you're becoming. Not every thought deserves your agreement. Some are simply echoes from an older version of yourself that's finally ready to be released. Next, on July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo forms a square with Uranus in Gemini. So this will be across your 8th and 5th houses. This transit is highlighting the relationship between emotional vulnerability and authentic self-expression. So you may notice where you've hidden your true feelings behind humor, intelligence, productivity, or emotional detachment. Some of you are going to also experience surprising developments involving intimacy, financial partnerships, trust, or deeper emotional conversations. This transit is reminding you that intimacy isn't created by revealing everything. It's created by revealing what is true. Your authenticity will always create stronger connections than your ability to appear unaffected. On July 14th at 21 degrees, we will have a new moon in Cancer happening in your 6th house. So, this new moon is going to begin a new chapter in the relationship you have with your everyday life. And this is not simply your schedule, this is your way of living. So, you may begin asking yourself whether your daily choices actually support the person you're trying to become. So, some of you may be changing careers, improving your health, reorganizing your business, establishing healthier boundaries, or creating routines that feel significantly more sustainable. Small choices repeated consistently shape ordinary lives. So, this new moon is reminding you that transformation rarely happens all at once. It happens every time you choose alignment over autopilot. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, which is your 7th house. So, Leo season is going to shift your attention toward relationships. Now, this isn't simply about attracting love, it's about understanding the type of relationship that actually supports your growth. Some people are attracted to chemistry, others are attracted to familiarity. This month is asking you to become attracted to reciprocity, to emotional honesty, to mutual encouragement, to relationships where both people remain fully themselves rather than slowly disappearing inside the connection. The healthiest relationship you'll ever build is one where neither person has to abandon themselves in order for love to survive. On July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer in your 6th house. So, Mercury direct here is going to bring clarity around your routines, your health, your responsibilities, and the practical decisions that are shaping your everyday life. So, any plans that have felt delayed are going to begin moving forward. Mental fog can begin to lift. And you may also suddenly recognize simple solutions to problems that have recently felt overwhelming. This reminds you that sometimes clarity isn't about finding new answers. It's about finally creating enough internal space to hear the answers that are already there. On July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries in your third house, right along with Neptune. So, Saturn retrograding here is asking you to become intentional with your voice, not just what you say, but what you repeatedly tell yourself. So, some of you are going to realize that you've underestimated the power of your own words. Every internal narrative eventually becomes an external decision. This transit is encouraging you to communicate more honestly, think more consciously, and stop allowing old fears to write stories your future doesn't deserve. The way you speak to yourself becomes one of the most important relationships you'll ever build. This retrograde cycle is going to be from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Also happening on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes will enter the Aquarius Leo axis. So, of course, this is going to be across your first and seventh houses. This begins one of the most significant relationship cycles of the next 18 months. But the deeper story isn't about finding the right relationship. It's about becoming the version of yourself capable of creating one. The North Node entering your first house is asking you to develop a stronger sense of identity, self-trust, and authenticity. Meanwhile, the South Node in your seventh house begins releasing patterns of people pleasing, over identifying with relationships, seeking validation through others, or shaping yourself around external expectations. This cycle is teaching that self love and healthy relationships are not separate journeys. They are the same journey viewed from two different directions. The more deeply you know yourself, the more naturally you'll recognize relationships that honor who you truly are. And finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius. So, of course, this full moon is going to bring a profound realization about your identity. So, you may recognize that the ways that you've quietly outgrown old labels, roles, coping mechanisms, or even old versions of yourself that once felt necessary. The life ahead of you requires a different relationship with yourself than the one you've carried into this moment. This isn't about becoming someone new. This is about removing everything that has prevented the real you from fully emerging. So, as you become more authentic, you'll naturally stop seeking relationships that simply validate you. And instead, you'll begin attracting relationships that genuinely witness you. And there is a big difference because one of those feeds the ego and the other nourishes the soul. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is first to let your relationship with yourself set the standard. The healthier your self respect becomes, the healthier your relationships naturally become. Next is to express yourself before seeking approval. Your authenticity creates deeper connection than perfection ever could. Next is to build routines that support your future. Transformation is created through consistent choices, not occasional breakthroughs. Next is to become aware of your inner dialogue. The conversations you have with yourself shape the life you're building. And finally, choose reciprocity over familiarity. The relationships meant for your future will encourage your growth rather than require your self-sacrifice. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is, I honor my authentic self, trust my own voice, and create relationships that reflect the love, respect, and wholeness I have first cultivated within myself. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if you felt seen in this, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe so you never miss the next download. And if you know you have more inside of you but still struggle to consistently show up, my new The Visibility Reset helps you to get to the root of what's actually blocking you. Through audio guidance, visibility activations, and emotional healing exercises, this experience helps you to release the fear of being seen and reconnect with your voice, confidence, and expression. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Hey, Pisces rising. So, this month is about creating a life that supports who you're becoming every single day, while recognizing that healing isn't measured by how deeply you understand yourself. It's measured by how differently you choose to live your life. July is about bringing inner transformation into your outer life. As a Pisces rising, you have likely experienced tremendous internal growth over the past several years. Your intuition has deepened, your self awareness has expanded, you've questioned old identities, healed old wounds, and begun seeing yourself through a much more compassionate lens. But insight alone doesn't change a life, embodiment does. And this month is asking a simple but powerful question. If someone watched your daily life, would they be able to tell how much you've grown? Because your routines tell the truth. Your boundaries tell the truth. The way you spend your time, protect your energy, care for your body, speak to yourself, and prioritize your well-being all reveal what you truly believe you deserve. July isn't asking you to become wiser. It's asking you to start living like you already are. The life you're envisioning isn't built through one extraordinary decision. It's built through hundreds of ordinary ones that quietly move you closer to yourself. Starting out the month on July 4th at 3 degrees, Mars will form a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, which is happening in your 4th house. This transit is going to bring movement within your emotional foundation. So, changes involving home, family, your living situation, or your relationship with emotional safety may arrive unexpectedly. Some of you are going to move, renovate, reconnect with family, establish stronger boundaries, or experience conversations that shift long-standing family dynamics. But beneath every external event is also a more personal invitation. Under this energy, you're beginning to redefine what feeling at home actually means. For much of life, home may have felt like a place you searched for. This transit is going to begin showing you that home is also something you build within yourself. The stronger your inner foundation becomes, the less your peace depends on external circumstances. On July 5th at 4 degrees, Mars will form a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this is going to be your 4th and 12th houses. This is profoundly healing energy. Old emotional patterns that have quietly lived beneath your awareness are going to finally become visible enough to release. Some of you are going to experience vivid dreams, powerful intuition, breakthroughs spiritually, or moments of emotional clarity that help long-standing pain finally make sense. This transit is also supportive of ancestral healing. And this is not because you're responsible for fixing the past, but more so because you're no longer having to carry emotional patterns that didn't begin with you. Healing sometimes looks less like becoming someone new and more like setting down emotional weight that was never yours to carry. On July 7th at 4 degrees, Neptune stations retrograde in Aries in your second house. So, Neptune retrograding here is going to begin reshaping your relationship with value, and not just financial value, but personal value. So, you may begin questioning beliefs about what makes you worthy, successful, lovable, or enough. Many of you have spent years giving generously to others while quietly undervaluing your gifts. So, this transit is going to gently dissolve those old narratives. Understand that your worth was never dependent on how much you produce, how much you sacrifice, or how useful you are to everyone else. And the more deeply you recognize your inherent value, the less you'll seek external proof that it existed. This transit is going to be in effect from July 7th through December 12th. On July 9th at 3 degrees, Venus in Virgo will form a square to Uranus in Gemini. So this is going to be your 7th and 4th houses. This transit highlights the connection between emotional security and your closest relationships. So, a conversation with a friend, family member, partner, client, or collaborator may reveal where you've been asking other people to provide a sense of safety that first needs to exist within yourself. Some of you may also recognize how early family experiences have been influencing the relationships that you've continued creating as adults. This isn't about blaming the past. It's more so about becoming conscious enough to stop repeating it. The healthier your relationship becomes with yourself, the healthier other relationships naturally becomes. On July 14th at 21 degrees, we have a new moon in Cancer, and so this will be happening in your 5th house. This new moon is inviting you to reconnect with fun, not the version of fun that depends on everything going perfectly, but the kind that reminds you who you are beneath responsibility, productivity, healing, and survival. Now, the 5th house isn't simply about romance or creativity. It's where your spirit remembers how to feel alive. So that means some of you are going to begin creating again after years of hesitation. And others of you are going to rediscover hobbies, passions, dreams, or parts of yourself that have quietly been abandoned while you've been focusing on everyone else's needs. This is about understanding that your joy is not a distraction from your purpose. It's actually one of the clearest expressions of it. So, the more fully alive you allow yourself to feel, the more naturally your gifts are going to begin flowing into everything you create. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, which is your sixth house, where currently we have Jupiter. So, Leo season is going to shift your attention toward the architecture of your daily life. So, this is an opportunity to create routines that reflect the future you're trying to build instead of the habits you've simply inherited. So, notice how your environment influences your mindset, how your schedule influences your creativity, how your sleep influences your patience, or even how your boundaries influence your peace. This is about remembering that transformation isn't only built through life changing moments, it's built through ordinary decisions repeated consistently enough that they eventually become your identity. On July 23rd at 16 degrees, Mercury stations direct in Cancer in your fifth house. So, Mercury being direct here is going to bring clarity around your creative energy, your passion projects, self expression, children, and the parts of yourself that have been waiting for permission to emerge. So, any ideas that have felt blocked are going to begin to flow. And also, your creative confidence is going to return. You may even stop overthinking something that simply needs to be experienced. So, this is about remembering that not every meaningful decision can be solved through analysis. Some of them need to be lived first and then understood afterwards. On July 26th at 14 degrees, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries along with Neptune in your second house. So, Saturn retrograding here is asking you to rebuild your sense of worth from the inside out. So, many Pisces risings have kind of unconsciously measured themselves by what they accomplish, how much they give, or whether other people recognize their gifts. This transit is going to quietly remove those external measuring sticks because confidence built on outside validation disappears the moment validation does. The confidence that you're building now is different. So, this is about it being rooted in knowing who you are before anyone else tells you. And that kind of self worth becomes incredibly difficult for life to shake. This retrograde cycle is going to be from July 26th through December 10th, 2026. Also on July 26th through March 26th, 2028, the lunar nodes will enter the Aquarius Leo axis. So this is going to be across your 12th and 6th houses. So, this is bringing a massive karmic cycle around healing, embodiment, surrender, and daily living. So, the invitation with this transit is that you're learning to close the chapter on unconscious survival patterns while creating a daily life that reflects the person you've become through your healing. So, this cycle is asking you to stop identifying with old wounds simply because they've been part of your story for so long. Healing isn't your identity, it's the bridge that carried you back to yourself. So, now life is asking you to live from that version instead. Finally, on July 29th at 6 degrees, we have a full moon in Aquarius. And this is also going to be highlighting your 12th house. So, this full moon is going to mark the completion of a deeply personal emotional cycle. So, something within you is ready to be released. This could be a fear that you've been carrying quietly, a story you've repeated about yourself, a version of your identity that's been built around struggle, or even the belief that healing means constantly revisiting your pain. This full moon is reminding you that there comes a point when healing asks you to stop looking backward and begin fully participating in the life you've worked so hard to create. You don't honor your healing by remaining attached to your wounds. You honor it by allowing your life to become larger than them. So, the next chapter of your journey isn't asking you to become a better survivor. It's asking you to become someone who finally believes they're allowed to thrive. Now, some of the best ways for you to work with the energy this month is to let your daily life reflect your healing. Your routines should support the person you've become, not the person you're leaving behind. Next is to redefine your relationship with worth. And remember that you don't have to earn the value that has already existed within you. Next is to create space for joy. What makes you feel fully alive deserves a place in your everyday life. Next is to build emotional safety from within. The stronger your inner foundation becomes, the less your peace depends on external circumstances. And finally, live your wisdom. Healing reaches its fullest expression when it becomes something you practice and not simply something you understand. A great affirmation for you for the month of July is: I honor my inherent worth, embody the wisdom I've gained, and create a life that reflects the peace, joy, and authenticity I have cultivated within myself. Be sure to let me know how the energy of July is showing up for you in the comments below. And if this is the kind of truth you've been looking for, be sure to hit like, share this video, hype this video, and subscribe so the universe keeps us synced. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching.